Hi everyone, I'm very happy to be today on an exclusive interview for Mr. Watch with Mr. Babin, who is the CEO of Bvlgari Group, and besides that, he is a kind of character that we need to follow in order to see what's the new setting up in the luxury industry.
So thanks, Constantin, for your very kind words. Welcome to the Geneva Watch Days, and welcome to Bvlgari and Gerald, two of the 17 brands which are exhibiting from 26 to 29 of August in Geneva, to make sure that the end of the year will be extremely positive.
For sure. I mean, we catch a very good vibe from here, so I will start directly talking about Geneva Watch Days, which in my opinion it was a very good experiment, because as a journalist you could select from before the stories you want to do. It's like you have more exclusive stories in the same place, so you're not going with the flow and you at the end have the same stories like everybody else. So do you think that the concept of Geneva Watch Days can be the future of the need inside the luxury industry?
Well, the Geneva Watch Days are digital, which obviously is a must, I think, in the future. It's open to the public, which again, we need to open that industry to more people. So opening it for free to the public the whole day is mandatory. It's decentralized, and again, I believe it's better, because decentralizing is not because only of COVID, but it's because of the experience. Each brand decides where and how they want to exhibit on the dish. Obviously, same city, same date, Geneva Watch Days, but at the same time, a brand which is a Geneva manufacturer obviously will be tempted to do it in its workshop to show also its watchmaking excellence. A brand with a major flagship boutique is tempted to do it in its boutique. And a brand like Bvlgari, because we are primarily a magnificent and contemporary Roman high jeweler, obviously we cannot do it anywhere else than in the best hotel in town, the most luxurious, the Ritz-Carlton. So each brand chooses really its own format. There are no rules dictating that you should do that or that. You take a booth of 200 square meters, 400 or 800, no. It can be 73, it can be 1002, everyone is free. And as a consequence, it's really cost efficient, which is really one of the key expectations of brands nowadays. Nowadays, the brand want to return on investment, not only on their advertising, but also on their initiative. So the event is initiative, and it has to be profitable.
We go now to the watches world, and in my opinion, and I also wrote in Mr. Watch, I think that Finissimo is the only iconic watch of the contemporary world, without taking inspiration and range replicating something that was before. So how do you build a modern iconic watch?
Well, you need a frame, and the frame since inception, when we started the project, was really how can we craft a watch which is conveying the ultimate masculine contemporary elegance. And this has been the drivers. The world records have been more cherry on the cake and the consequence. But we tried, and obviously, when thinking about the ultimate contemporary masculine elegance, you first look at modern gentlemen, the way they are dressing, and obviously it's slim fit. Slim fit has been the revolution, in styling over the last decade. And slim fit means a slim watch. So we decided to go for a slim watch, but not a classical one. It has to be contemporary, because the gentleman is contemporary like you. And meaning, a very strong pedigree design, and we thought that the Octo with the 110 facets, with a strong combination of circle and octagon, was probably the best potential design, which coming slim would keep a very, very strong character, because usually when you go slim, you go classical. It's very difficult to be slim and have a character. So we thought that Finissimo, if maintaining the 110 angles, the geometry could become slim and strong at the same time, which is the problem. And obviously, to innovate it, it was anyway the only option, because no one could obviously supply us such a thin movement. So we had to develop from scratch a new generation of movement, rethinking watchmaking and mechanical movement totally out of the box, because there was no benchmarks, there was no inspiration, and we made it. We made it first in 2014 with the manual winning tourbillon watch, and then the story, like a virtuous circle, did unfold, and we are there in Geneva with the 6th consecutive world record, with the expression of contemporary masculine elegance to the most refined ever, combining a tourbillon and a chronograph movement. A 42.5mm case, so perfect balance between the diameter and the thickness. And a watch which, again, I think will further pave the journey, the historical journey of Octo. Finissimo having been awarded already more than 50 times. 3 Geneva Watchmaking Grand Prix, so probably it's the most awarded ever Swiss watch in history. and not even in the decade, it's just 6 years, but of course of the last decade, but probably of the whole Swiss watchmaking history.
You mentioned Swiss watch industry. I would like to ask a personal question. How do you feel being a business mind coming from outside the watches industry? Because usually most of the CEOs are born inside, are Swiss, are grown inside, and you are coming from different industry, but then you picked up and then look.
Well, 20 years ago, you're right. I was coming from totally different industry. I was working in Germany in a chemical company. I started the watch industry, and not 20 years, but fortunately, out of the 20 years, I had only 13 of pure watchmaking, and then I took over Bvlgari. And Bvlgari is obviously a watchmaker, but also primarily a jeweler. It's a great accessory and fashion company. It's also, I mean, one of the leading perfume brands in the world. And last but not least, it's together with Cheval Blanc and the Belmont hotels, the leader in the ultra premium category. So it's true that this journey, first in consumer goods and consulting, and lately in fashion, jewelry, hospitality, is a mind opener when it comes then to the watchmaking. So it's a great asset for Bvlgari to be multi businesses and to be also in a group which beyond those categories is also a winemaker, is also a champagne maker, is also a vodka, a whiskey maker. A group also, I mean, designing yacht, because we have some investment in yachting. So really opening the mind and making, when it comes to watches, obviously difference. The first difference is the daringness in design. We know that in fashion, we know that in accessory, you must be daring to resonate to millennials. And everything we've been doing this year is daring. This is totally daring. This is very daring, again, in terms of strong design. And last but not least, the new Genta release is also, I mean, for a 16,000 euro watch, pretty bold, pretty contemporary, and also, I mean, surely resonating for also the wealthier millennials, because not all millennials can afford it. This one, obviously, is more affordable, but for millennial people in their 30s who make already some money and can also dream about it. So I think this is really the benefit of not being only a pure player, but also to have your mind much more open thanks to your other activities, and also thanks to your shareholder with LVMH as a group. On the one hand, entrusting you entirely as if you were the owner of the company, but on the other hand, stimulating you by the so many innovation at 360 degrees in all luxury categories you can imagine.
How do you put as you said, a jewelry brand into a hotel? Because we are very much into hospitality, we follow the industry, so...
Eventually, we talk in our luxury about experience. It's not the product any longer, it's experience. Hotel is experience only, so it's the opposite. Our luxury initially was possession only and status, and hotel has ever been experience only, because when you pay the bill on the morning, 1,000 euro are gone, if not more. What you keep in mind is only memories. You don't possess anything. And so the memory must be good, because if ever the memory is not convinced, then you have a negative word of mouth, which is impacting negatively. So for us, the hotel has been not only, I mean, a great hospitality experience as such, but also an incredible learning field, which we are reversing to our retailing network. Because obviously, if you are able to be a good hotel manager, you will be an even better retail manager, because an hotel is much more difficult to run and to build as an experience, as well if a boutique is just a rectangle of 200 square meters. An hotel is 25,000 square meters with totally different expertise. You know, you have the valet, you have the reception, you have the bar, you have the restaurant, you have the room service, you have the cleaning service, you have the spa, and all those expertise are different. But at the end of the day, you need to have one face to the client at the end of the day, and you need to sell an experience, because there's nothing else to sell. It's not that you sell the bathroom, that you sell the amenities. No, this is not for sale. It's, I mean, these are for Bvlgari, it's a gift. But what you sell eventually is an emotion, and a memorable emotion, which will drive you to talk about it to your friends, so the word of mouth, and to come back. And indeed, 60% of our clients are people coming back, so people who have been really moved by the experience. And therefore, this has been extremely useful on jewelry. I mean, when we have a jewelry event, for sure, the hospitality learning are making the event different from what you would have in a traditional, more classical jewelry event, because jewelry often is a bit stiff, a bit classical, a bit conservative. I mean, I think about the French school, for instance. Bvlgari is different because Bvlgari is primarily not even a jeweler. It's the ultimate expression of Dolce Vita. It's the Roman magnificence with at the same time, I mean, this joyful daily lifestyle, which is very approachable, very familiar, but yet very educated and very sophisticated. And this is what people do love in our events, whether it's high jewelry, whether it's watch days, whether it's an hotel opening. It's extremely sophisticated, but you feel good. And eventually this feel good, this emotion of joy is probably the best gift Bvlgari is delivering beyond the necklace, beyond the watch, beyond the bag, beyond the perfume bottle, and beyond obviously the night in the hotel, even though a night in the hotel can be extremely emotional.
Okay, thank you so much. Before finishing, I would like another personal opinion of yours, because you know it's been a lot of crises that have been influencing this industry, but it seems that luxury is always coming back, and it's coming back with the same brands, and it's coming back with the emotion. But maybe this crisis, this difficult situation we are facing now, do you think it will change the luxury? How do you see in a few lines the future? It will come back, I mean, like it was, or do you see a...
Well, I think luxury is something visceral, and if you think about jewelry, because it's our core business, jewelry has been the first ever luxury in mankind 15,000 years ago. And it has been designed to celebrate the most important moments in life. I mean, since inception, luxury has been A, designed to worship the gods, and B, designed to worship the mating between a man and a woman. And this has been more or less the same in the last 15,000 years, using extraordinary materials since the beginning, gold, using extraordinary gems, diamonds, sapphire, ruby, and this has never changed. What has changed is that jewelry has gone up and down, but always up on the long term, driven by demographics. And incredibly, I mean, this passion for the exceptional, this passion for the gems of nature, because we talk about materials, gems, metals, which have been crafted naturally by the Mother Earth over millions of years, never changed. It's really embedded into your DNA, whether you are from Australia, whether you are from Hong Kong, whether you are from South Africa, from Italy, from the US, whatever the times, whatever the culture, whatever the religion, it has been there. And it has been growing. So I'm sure, especially jewelry, because jewelry is timeless, and this is one of the reasons why it has been so successful, that it will continue. What will change is somehow some trends that COVID has not created but accelerated. COVID has not created any new trend, but some trends about authenticity, transparency, respect, social responsibility were there already growing year after year. Obviously, COVID is an accelerator. Other trends like, you know, a new balance between working life and private life through smart work is accelerated. Before we were granting our people 1 day a week of smart work. Probably after COVID, we'll go easily to 2 days a week, because we have seen that with 5 days a week, we could do it. Perhaps not for 10 years, because you need contacts, but for quite a long period, we can do it. So this will impact, obviously, the acceleration of a better balance in life between your professional obligation and your family priority. Also, I think it's an accelerator when it comes to online sales. Obviously, during COVID, you couldn't buy except through online. So this also has driven the brand to accelerate their rollout plans. For Bvlgari, for instance, 8 markets to 16 in just 3 months. So we anticipated our 3 years plan in 3 months. And obviously the growth is 100%, because not only, I mean, did the countries equipped did grow a lot because of COVID, but we added 8 other countries, so the growth is exponential. So obviously it's an accelerator also in comment. And in terms of communication, when we talk about authenticity, about transparency, it's not only the product itself, the supply chain, the raw materials and the sourcing origin and the transparency, but it's also the company. Is the company eventually a good person, or don't we know, or do we feel it's not exactly a good person? Because you don't buy any longer a necklace only or watch only, you buy, I mean, values. And you more and more, and COVID is also accelerating that, because COVID has been a tragedy. A lot of people have thought about it, and you buy value. So obviously you need to be attracted first by the brand name and by the new necklace, the new watch. But then the question arising is, but who's behind? I want first to know who's behind, the craftsman, the workshops, the company commitment to its community, and then could that company be a friend of mine? And if the answer is yes, right, you are very likely to establish a relation. If the relation is not, you can easily lose yourself because people want primarily to be with good friends, and the community is very much a strong requirement of millennials, and they have to feel that the brand is part of their community and they are not part of the brand community. And this means, I mean, a commonwealth of values.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.